So I'll thank you everyone for joining us. We have about 11 people on, which is great for a warm June evening anyway in Thunder Bay. We just want to kind of, given the fact that things are so different for us all this year, we just kind of want to keep everyone up to date as our planning changes and as our calendars change. A few weeks ago, kind of had a staff meeting and was looking at the calendar and realized that we had to shift our thinking. On our last community update, I think we kind of shared that with everyone, that we were looking at what we can do as opposed to trying to hope that we can do something and then canceling 4 weeks out. So although that seemed like a great plan back in mid-April, it became obvious that that wasn't going to work anymore. So that's the way we're looking at it. We got good news today that Parts of Ontario, I think most of the people on the call here are probably a part of in those areas in Ontario. So as of Friday, we will look a little bit different, not too much, but at least there's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe for some of us. So I'm going to turn this over to Vic, and he is going to go through the calendar, and then we're going to go and into the return to play and just do a bit of an update on that, and to go through if anyone has any questions, if they weren't able to attend the coach info sessions last week that we held. So take it away, Vic.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So like Liz said, we are going through kind of the planning phase and just realizing that we really had no idea what we could count on heading into the summer, and we had a plan C kind of in the back of our mind, but we kind of have made plan C plan A for now. And so what that means primarily for the programming side of our organization is that we can't run camps of 25 plus kids in any one place with shared food, accommodations, all those things that would be a complication for social distancing. We have decided to leave that be. And our strategy moving through the summer, for at least for now, is to have Katie and myself as the two deliverers of programming for XCSO, at least in terms of athletes. Will be for us to go to people rather than have people come to us as would be in a normal camp situation, like where we would host a 3 or 4 day camp. People would come from some distance away and stay together and eat together and so on and so forth. So I won't put the calendar up that we have developed because there's still some question marks about where we'll go and when we'll be there. But in general, I will be working in Thunder Bay and Northern Ontario, and Katie will be working in the National Capital District and Southern Ontario, and we'll be doing visits to clubs as I've done it in some years past. We will be running what we can in those sessions, and we will be trying to interact with the Ontario Junior Ski Team plus club athletes throughout those visits as well. There might be some Ontario Junior Ski Team athlete sessions, but that's still something we're going to figure out depending on the location and how long we're in a particular spot. So roughly, just to give you some timelines, and if you're a club in one of those areas, expect an email from us in the next week or so. But starting somewhere around July 7, 8, 9, Katie and I will depart our respective homes, and we will make our way somewhere towards Sudbury, both of us. And the clubs along that route we'll try and make a visit. And if we don't catch the club in July, we will try and make sure we catch that club in August. We will do 2 trips this summer. So July 7, 8, 9 to about July 22, 23, somewhere in that window, as well as the window from August, the weekend after the long weekend, which is the like the 8, 9, from there somewhere running through to the 30th. There's some opportunities for us to again visit with clubs, and yeah, so that's our strategy for the summer. And we have talked about the fall a little bit, and again, I think we're in the same situation that we really don't know what the situation will be come fall. And I think us trying to get too ahead of ourselves at this point would be, we can spend a lot of time doing that. So for now, we still have our plan A, which we have published in the past with a few super camps and foray training camp for Ontario junior ski team, and there's some camps for Ontario ski team as well. But we'll develop plan C as we see and as we work through it, and depending how this works for us, with us visiting clubs versus us having athletes come to us, we may adjust our plan as well moving into the fall. So yeah, and then I'm happy to take any questions about that heading forward. And we do also, I mean, I do respect if any clubs at this point, if we have contact with them as well, that if they're not comfortable with us coming to their club and doing this type of thing, then that will also be respected as well. So we will be interacting with the coach as we make our plans. So yeah, I talked a bit about the racing calendar in the past too, and that's also in development. I'm happy to put out together like a rough calendar in the near future. We can publish that. There, just as an FYI, we have a rough set of dates for NORAMs and Easterns and Nationals. O-Cups, there will be a tech package published in the near future as well, or there'll be a bid package available, and we'll be looking for a few dates to be filled. But expect O-Cup 1 to be probably at Nakertok, and yeah, the races to follow from there. There are some question marks with a few things like OUAs. We did see today that all OUA sports will be canceled until December 31st. I haven't heard that from OUA. We have a chat with them tomorrow, but I did see a Twitter post about it. So whether or not that's confirmed, we'll see tomorrow. But I do anticipate some question marks as we head into the winter around some other events as well, even including some of the NORAM Super Tour races and yeah, so I expect some shuffling around as we approach the winter time. The only other thing I would like to add is that we are making then also contingency plans with racing as it does evolve. If some races can't happen, I do suspect that our move to make some room in the calendar for district racing may prove valuable if that's the only kind of racing we can do this coming winter. I have no idea, but we are working with all the districts to develop a district race series, and that we have allotted spots in the calendar for those to a suggested date as well, aside from O-Cups and NORAMs, etc. So I'm going to hand it over to Katie to talk about the OJST and kind of what they're doing in the meantime, and then I'm going to have one other thing before I hand it over to Liz for the return to play.
Cool. Yeah, so for those athletes that are on OJST as well as OST, I think it's still important that we have some sense of team and community, even if it is right now just online. So my plan right now is every 2-ish weeks, I'm hosting some type of workshop. Sometimes it will be myself delivering them, especially if they're in the field of sports psychology. And then sometimes we're going to have a guest deliver these workshops. And so they're split into smaller groups. The next ones I think are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday next week. And our first one is going to be on managing motivation through adversity, because I think that's quite relevant right now. Yeah, and so the purpose of this, it's not to overwhelm them, because I know some of them are still finishing up some classes, and then I know there's webinars with Nordic Canada, and then with their club teams, they're also doing a lot of meeting on the computer. So the point is not just to add an extra thing, but to make it quality and meaningful, so that they are getting that extra little something for being on the Ontario junior ski team, and so that we maintain that sense of team as much as we can until I get to see them in person. So yeah, that's what's planned for right now.
Great. The only other thing I will add is just in terms of the WAX protocol. I know I've received a couple emails actually in the last couple days about that. I don't think anything's totally, so if you're on the WhatsApp with Jeff Ellis, you will have seen that there will be a fluoro ban for sure coming next year. That's fairly certain. There are some question Mark about, of course, the new products and the way that will roll out, and there's some things there. So I think there is a working group being formed to address some of those concerns around the cost of those new products, the availability of those new products, etc. And so we'll be looking at that and how that applies to particular tier 2 racing in Canada. So I don't have any answers yet, but I would not buy stuff immediately. I would wait a little bit before there's some clarification. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's it from my end, Liz.
Sorry, Liz, before you start, I just forgot to mention that we are working with Para as well, and so they're included in these workshops. So that's the Para provincial team. And then as part of Vic and my tour to Ontario, we are going to be having some Southern Ontario para-athlete visits, and then as well in Sudbury. So I forgot to mention that, but that's also in the plans.
Great, thanks, guys. So last week we went through, as most of you know, a couple weeks ago, actually, stage 1 of Ontario reopening was included sports. We kind of realized it was quite a surprise to the ministry staff that I work with. And one of the requirements was that the PSO, so that's XCSO, had to develop a return to play protocol, which we did. We held some coach information sessions last week, which were actually quite well attended, 3 of them. So basically what that is it's a set of guidelines that clubs and teams have to follow to return to training. And the big message that we wanted to kind of convey to everyone is that this isn't necessarily a go. You have to start training again, but there's certain things that teams have to have in place, and coaches have to be comfortable returning to training, and they also have to be working with athletes who are mature enough and committed enough that they will adhere to the protocol that we developed. It's on our website. We have we've got a page in our in our main menu now, COVID-19, and the return to play protocol is there. Given the announcement today that group sizes as of Friday for most of the district health units in the province that are doing fairly well, the maximum group size has gone up to 10 as of Friday, maybe midnight on Friday. I'm not sure what time on Friday, but so we will be amending that return to play protocol and also working with our ministry rep to determine if there's anything else that we can work into our strategy moving forward. One thing that we have recognized that was some feedback on the coach info sessions is that we didn't include strength and conditioning in it. We did allow for outdoor, some outdoor strength, but recognizing that this is an important time for strength in an athlete's development, in particular at the older end of the age spectrum. So we are going to, when we produce our next return to play, we will also include a section on strength and conditioning, and we're going to be following the protocol that's been set out by the Canadian Sport Institute Ontario as their facility has reopened. And so we're going to be looking at their best practices and implementing that incorporating that into our return to play protocol. So that would be indoor training as well. But again, we're going to be likely limiting that to keep at the 4-to-1 athlete coach ratio just to keep the numbers down in the indoor space. But again, that's kind of, that's just, in development. It came out this afternoon. So we were kind of working on it late this afternoon, and hopefully we'll have it up by midweek. And yeah, does anybody want any kind of further information on that, or did you want I could share my screen and kind of go through it? One of the big things is that the athletes have to be prepared to physical distance, not just in training, but also in their personal life. They can't, for example, be, going to a friend's house and sitting with a group of people indoors, and then heading out to training the next morning. It's the responsibility is really going to be on the athlete, and then it's also going to be on the coach in the field of play, that they are able to maintain that mindset, and that if athletes aren't able to adhere to it, that they aren't invited to training. And not that it just is what it is. So yeah. And I guess the other thing I should mention about that is that coaches have to go through that process with their athletes in an online environment or on the phone. So they have to go through each kind of phase or section of the return to play protocol to ensure that the athletes know about it and they're committed to it. And it's just kind of a bit of a catch, so that everybody's on the same page, so that when they get to the training site, they understand what their responsibilities are. Anything else on return to play? I don't see anything in the chat feature. So one thing I'm going to do, we didn't include this in our agenda, and I'm going to put Katja on the spot. Katja's been working in the officials area, starting to work in that area with us for a bit. So I just kind of want to ask her to have a preview of a few things that she's working on, including a mentorship program and also the level 1 officials that's available online. So go ahead, Katja. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, so we're trying to grow our pool of officials in our division, and plans are still developing, but I think first step is to kind of get an idea of clubs and what sort of pool they already have, and who is active as an official, and who might be an interested volunteer to become an official. And so about 2 weeks ago, I sent out an email, as well as posted it on our website, that the actual level 1 officials course is an online course. So that's fairly straightforward to becoming a level 1 official. So it's just kind of basic race organizational elements to the level 1. And then the level 2 would take a weekend in person. So that would be the next step. But right now we're just kind of doing an inventory of each club's volunteers and officials presently. So that's kind of phase 1. And so hopefully clubs will find their interested volunteers to take the level 1. So I'll be sending that out on occasion, or maybe once a month, to remind clubs that level 1 is available online, and it's free. So there's no cost to that. And we're just working on developing a mentorship program. As you probably all know, we have that for coaches, and that's been very popular this year. So we're developing something like that for officials, with the goal that these officials would be going to some of our races this winter, and maybe shadow a TD, or go to jury meetings and sort of get a more hands-on experience on at a race directly. Yeah, I think that's kind of the plan right now, to kind of just get a better sense of who we have out there, and help the clubs train more officials so that they would be more ready to host their own races or be part of our organization's race series, and yeah, just kind of get the volunteers trained. Any questions on the official side?
Thanks, Katja.
Nothing in the chat, I don't think so.
No, I just see one from Todd. I think it's probably directed to at me, but I'm not quite sure what you mean by the question, Todd. We can open up the your mic. Yeah, go ahead. We're kind of at the end of our kind of official presentation. So
great. I'm just wondering about our liability coverage in terms of the insurance provided by Nordic Canada. I also coach with a triathlon club, and the insurer for Triathlon Canada has said that there is no liability coverage for anyone that claims that they have gotten COVID-19 from a practice, which makes it so that I don't want to hold any triathlon practices. So that's what I'm wondering.
Okay, so that's a bit of an interesting question. And I did have that question to Nordic Canada when we first started working on our return to play, because you know, individual sports were opened up in stage 1, and someone sent me a link for cycling. I think it was from Cycling Canada. It might have been Cycling Ontario, not sure which, but you know, and they had an actual disclaimer, same thing as triathlon. And I asked specifically about that, and nothing has come from our insurance company in that way. Another thing that I learned on, you know, when this whole thing started kind of rolling out, we were attending webinars with different groups trying to, you know, offer solutions to all of these groups that are trying to navigate a new norm. One of them was with Sport Law and Strategy Group, and they talked about that a lot of the insurance companies were not covering remote training, which our insurer was, with specific guidelines. So as it stands right now, it's my understanding that our liability insurance is intact. We vetted the return to play protocol with the insurance company. He came back with, yes, that's what all of our NSOs are doing. It's they thought it was quite a good protocol. The one big thing was that the coaches and the athletes had to sign off on it. And so that's where, if you are starting team practices, you would, like, there are some links on the website with directions for getting a Zone 4 registration open for that, or you can include it in your club registration. And so that's one thing. So we took it the step further and said that not only did everyone have to sign off on it, but they also had to attend that coach athlete info session, and the coach had to go through it with the athletes. And that was kind of, we felt that that was prudent on our part, because it's too easy just to check that box off when you are online. And you know, it's still easy to do that, but at least you're doing, as a team leader or a coach, you're doing your due diligence to talk to athletes about this. If they haven't attended that session with you as a coach, they don't come to training. It's quite, I mean, for me, it's quite black and white, but that's kind of my way of thinking of it. Any of the staff, if you're having a team meeting, any of our staff, we can hop into a Zoom call or a Google Meets call or whatever, and just reinforce the message. You know, as long as one of us is available, but we're happy to do that. And yeah, so that hasn't been an issue the way, you know, I mean, I saw cycling, now I hear triathlon as well, but there is no disclaimer. Kind of short, long story, but for a short answer.
No, that was great. Thank you. That was very reassuring. Thank you for vetting it through the insurer like that. That's great.
Yeah. Any other questions? I don't see anything in the chat. If anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, please, you know, feel free to. Nobody's jumping up. So I will, we haven't talked about community update number 4. I don't know whether we'll offer that or not. You know, your feedback will help maybe guide that. If you feel like this is a something that you would like, I mean, probably it might be too soon before June, but we might offer one over the summer months or early in the fall. But unless there's some huge change, your best bet to keep up to date is through on the website, social media. We are trying to, for any updates on the COVID-19, we will post to our website. And we'll also just, I mean, as I'm thinking about it, we will keep old documents. I don't like to do that on our website, but we will keep old return to play protocols on the website so that we kind of have a historical record of what we're doing, so that people can, you know, and then that maybe makes it easier, you know, fingers crossed that we don't have to go back to the old way, the new old way. Anyway, so thanks so much for attending. And if you have any feedback on this, please send it to any one of us. We're happy to have it, good, bad, any, you know, just let us know. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.